The first thing we should do is make a new directory. You make a new directory typing mkdir la-data-project. Then cd into la data project. Now, once you have cd'd into the right directory, you're going to touch three files. An index.html, an index.js, and a style.css. So that your directory should look like this. Now, I'm going to type all this into Slack, so don't worry if you don't get it all right away. But the first thing you need to do is lay down your generic boilerplate for any HTML file. Doc type, HTML. An HTML tag, a head tag, and a body tag. Just like this. Inside the head tag, we're going to have a title of LA Data Project. And in the body, I'm just going to put right now an H1 that says LA Data Project. And preview it to make sure it works. There it is. We're off to a dashing start. Now that our boilerplate's set up, link your CSS file by creating a link tag in your head. Give it a rel attribute and set that equal to style sheet. And then an href attribute and set that equal to style.css. That will link this style file right here. So if we type something like body background Dodger blue, this should come out Dodger blue when we preview the file. There we go. Ta-da! Let's make all the color white so it looks flyer. Lovely. Let's give it a font family of Helvetica just because. Okay. That looks kind of nice. So now I know that my CSS file is linked, but I need to link my JavaScript file next. For CSS, you always link it with a link tag. For JavaScript, you always link it with a script tag. So make an open and closing script tag, and inside the first script tag, give it an src or source attribute. Bless you, Cody. And set that source attribute equal to the index.js file that you have right here. Once you've done that, you should be good to go, and we should be ready to go grab some data and get our project started. Now, the goal of this project is simple. The execution is going to be a little difficult. We're going to try and take this index.js file, and we're going to use the fetch function to grab some data from, the LA Open Data API. Once we've grabbed some data, we're going to display that data on our index.html file. Honestly, that's really all we need to do. We're also going to use Bootstrap as the primary styling library for our front-end library. And then I'm going to show you what happens if we want to change from Bootstrap to what's known as Materialize, which is another front-end library that's themed after the Google theme, or after Google Material Design. So I'll show you how we're going to do that as these videos go on, but that's basically the entire goal for this project. Now, to get to the LA Open Data API, let me show you exactly what you need to do. The first thing is you need to head over to data.lacity.org/browse. Then we need to look for a data set that we're going to find interesting. Now, I could look up literally anything here. There's so much data. You can find out anything you want. But I'm actually going to look at, let's see, what's a good idea for someone to look at? For the time being, I'm going to enter in salaries, because this seemed to be the one that was the most interesting to me when I looked through some of this. And I'm going to scroll down to gender breakdown of city workers by department. I think this has some interesting data here. When I open this up, I'm going to see how it says here API? There's a little button for how to access the API, the endpoint right here. This link is how we can get access to all the data in this data set. So whatever thing you click on, whatever topic, whatever data set, find the button labeled API, select it, and copy the API endpoint. The API endpoint is the URL which we're going to get all our data. Now I'm going to copy it and just paste it into a new tab. And let's see what it looks like. You'll notice that at the end of this data, it says .json. How is this data coming back to us? JSON, which if you remember stands for JavaScript Object Notation, which means we have a bunch of objects stored inside a giant array. So we'll be able to look through all of these different objects inside our array. We can loop through them and find out information about every single subject and display it nicely. You ready? Now to get this data into our project, we're going to use the fetch function. So right here, I'm going to create a function called get LA data from API. And I'm going to, inside that function, create a variable called endpoint and set it equal to this link of all the data that I want to get. Now, once I've done that, what is the function we need to use to go make a GET request to get that data? What's it called again? That's right, it's called fetch. To fetch that data, we say fetch, and then inside our parentheses, we pass in the endpoint as our argument. And to do something with that data, because fetch happens asynchronously, we have to use a .then method and a .catch method at the end of it to catch any errors or to do something with our data. So at this point, we're pretty much set up for what's next. I'm going to pause this video here, paste all my code into Slack, and we're about ready to make this app go grab the data and display it on our page. Cool? Cool. If you have any questions, let me know.